Welcome to Money Matters. I'm Emily Johnson, Certified Financial Planner and Managing Director of Polaris Capital Advisors. And I am joined today by Casey Bateman, also of Polaris, and she is our health insurance specialist. And since we are smack dab in the middle of what is known as open enrollment for health insurance purposes, I thought that it would be a good idea to have Casey come on and discuss what's going on with that. And it's sort of interesting because in previous years we see ad after ad after ad by health insurance companies stressing that now's the time, look at your health insurance, see if this is the best plan for you. But because everything is all Hillary and all Trump all the time now, we actually haven't seen quite as many ads. So I think we actually might have some new information to share. And as you're all aware, health insurance is constantly changing. Whether you feel it's for the good, the bad, or the ugly, it's constantly changing. But now is the time. So we are going to discuss what's going on in the open enrollment period, what that means for those over 65 on Medicare, and what that means for those under 65. So just in general, what is the open enrollment period?
So open enrollment for Medicare age people is October 15th to December 7th. So now is the time to change your drug plan or sign up for Medicare Advantage for those over 65 that are not happy with their current plan, if their drugs may have changed from a formulary change.
And what is formulary? I know we hear about formularies and stuff, but that has to do with how insurance companies look at drugs, is that right?
Right, so there's different tiers of drugs. So if maybe you take a drug that doesn't have a generic, it's a higher tier. Maybe it went up a tier, so it's costing you more. You may want to analyze which plan is the best, whether you need to have a specific pharmacy plan or if a broader ranged plan is available, a more enhanced plan would be better for your needs. Even though it's a higher monthly cost, it may save you money on your individual drug plan throughout the year.
And this is the only time you can do this, right? If you're over 65, if you're already on Medicare, then this is the only time that you can do this, right?
There are special enrollment periods throughout the year. So if you have a chronic condition, like if you have a cardiovascular disorder, diabetes, that type of thing, then there are different options throughout the year that's one example of a special enrollment period that you could sign up for, say, a Medicare Advantage plan throughout the year, one that's more specifically tied to your needs. And if you have signed up for a Medicare Advantage and this is the first year that you're on it and you're unhappy with it for some reason, you're in a guaranteed enrollment period that throughout the year, if you're not happy with it, you can automatically switch back to original Medicare and sign up for a Medicare supplement and drug plan at that time.
But in general, this is when the bulk, say 90% or so of folks that are on Medicare and it's Medicare Advantage. Isn't it also prescription?
Your drug plan as well. So that's one of the biggest.
This is why we have her, because I don't know these things.
Your drug plan as well, because people's drugs needs change throughout the year, and as we talked about, the formularies change. So you want to make sure to put your drugs into kind of a calculated thing online that will evaluate exactly how much it's going to cost you throughout the year on each individual plan. So one plan may cost you $20 a month, but throughout the year it would be, say, $5,000 for your overall drug needs, whereas another plan might cost $70 a month and your overall drugs would cost $1,000. So there's a huge difference that you really need to be aware of what drugs you're taking and what plan has what on what tier, and if you can qualify to do a mail order drug, that type of thing that can save you some additional dollars there too.
So another thing that we had discussed before, I know with some of our clients, is prior authorizations, that sometimes that changes. So you might have a plan that previously it said that you did not have to have prior authorization, but this year that plan might change, even though you still have the same plan. They could change within it, saying that now you need prior authorizations and also change the drugs. How does that work?
Right, so depending on the company, they may have you well, a lot of the companies will have you do step therapy. That means they want you to try and fail on a generic drug before you're asking for maybe a name brand or a higher tiered drug. So it's their way of trying to save money. But if you have tried and failed on a couple of generic drugs and you know you need that specific plan, talk to your doctor about it. They have a way to do prior authorizations with your insurance company, just filling out a form, a couple questionnaires, sending that into your insurance company, and then you can get that drug paid for.
So if you change plans, you might have to go through that whole try and fail
process. So you want to make sure that you do that before you run out of your drugs, so you're not sitting there without the drug that you need.
That's interesting. Does that go for doctors as well? So if you want to see a specific specialist, if you have a neuro condition or something like that, is that?
Well, you always want to call your specialist to make sure they take your specific plan. So if you have a Medicare Advantage plan, you want to call and tell them specifically what Medicare Advantage plan you have, and then they'll let you know if they participate or not. There are some changes going on with some different Medicare Advantage plans. Some of them aren't participating with our local tenant hospitals anymore, so that's something you need to ask your insurance agent to make sure that your that your plan, you can still go to your local facilities if you need it.
Another one that I've heard, and this is sort of somewhat off topic, so don't get angry at me, but is ambulance services. I know that some plans will work with ambulance services, and some would have to be private pay. That's sort of an interesting thing, especially because of what's going on with the tenant hospitals and the inability of some patients to be able to go there.
Each plan pays differently. Some Medicare Advantage plans would have a copay, and original Medicare would have different costs associated with it.
Now, is Medicare and Medicare Advantage, I know with some other insurances, they're county specific. Is that the same with, so if you are, say, from Illinois and you move down here in the summer and this is you're 70 years old and this is the open enrollment period, then it would make sense for you to take a look at the new plans that are available for your county specifically, right? Not just because of your prescriptions, et cetera, but because of the physicians you might want to see, because what's available in this county might be different than what was up in
Right,
Illinois,
so that's very specific to your Medicare Advantage plans. That's tied to counties specifically. And so if you are a snowbird and you're up there and you're down here for part of the year, you want to make sure that your plan works well in both areas where you're living. As far as original Medicare and supplements go, you're pretty free to travel throughout the U.S. Because if you take original Medicare, they're going to take whatever supplement plan you have.
So I hear from some clients that, when I ask the question of do you have health insurance and, whatever, a lot of them will say they have a secondary from their employer. If they have a secondary, do they also usually look at Medicare Advantage, or is that?
You can. If you have a secondary paid through your employer, you're probably wanting to stick with that because they're taking the cost that you would incur if you were signing up for a Medicare Advantage plan. But if you do have a supplement plan through your employer, you do want to make sure that you have a good drug plan and that you sign up for it as soon as you're eligible for it, because if you don't, and you think that I don't take medications, I don't need to have a drug plan right now, you're subject to a late enrollment penalty, which is 1% of every month that you are eligible for it. You are assessed a penalty when you do sign up for it down the line.
And there are some free things that come with Medicare and Medicare Advantage too, right? Because it's certain, like, I don't know, you tell me what they are. What are some of the freebies that come?
So when you first get on Medicare, you get a Welcome to Medicare physical. That's the one physical, head-to-toe physical that Medicare will pay for, original Medicare.
Including like blood draws and?
Including certain blood tests and EKGs and things like that. And then after that, every year you can get what's called an annual wellness exam. You can get that on a original Medicare as well as Medicare Advantage plans as well. But on some Medicare Advantage plans, you can get an annual physical in addition to that wellness exam. That's a lot of people really enjoy because they want that head-to-toe check every year and not necessarily what's included with the wellness exam that's a little bit more limited on what they physically check.
The other thing that I saw that was interesting, and this is the under 65 side, but I'm sure it applies to the over 65 side, is when it comes to prescriptions, certain pharmacies are now making deals with, I don't know if they're making deals with Medicare, Medicare Advantage or not, but I know I've received some things that say, if you go to Walgreens, then you get this benefit, or
Absolutely.
You can only get this from
Absolutely.
Walgreens.
You definitely need to check which plan you have to see what your specialized pharmacy is, because you can save on copays, and it can drastically cost you more if you go to the pharmacy that is not associated with your plan. If your plan prefers Walgreens, go to Walgreens. If they prefer CVS, go to CVS, or one of the neighboring pharmacies that's also in that network.
So you would call the insurance company about that, or would you call around to say to Walmart, to CVS, to Walgreens to find out the cost of the drug there?
You can do both.
Okay.
Yeah.
The other thing is it seems like it changes if you say you go to CVS 4 times. It seems like the cost changes throughout the year in some of these medications. Why does something like that happen?
It can. They can change a formulary during the middle of the year, and the insurance company can do that. But for the most part, if you're on the same drug throughout the year, within that year, it should stay within the same tier.
Okay. And this isn't a spousal situation, right? Where if husband and wife they have to have the same Medicare Advantage plan, they can each have something slightly different?
They absolutely. For supplement plans, a spouse, 2 spouses, or 2 people living in the same household can save on their supplement plan and have different percentages of savings based on the plan that you sign up for. And you can also be on a different plan as your husband. If you have a chronic disability and your husband doesn't, he may not qualify for the same plan that you do. So you each can be on the same plan, but still continue to go to the same doctors based on the company that you have.
So basically, it sounds like now is, for the next, in October 15th through December 7th, now is the best time to really take a hard look at what medications you take, which physicians you see, what you might anticipate coming up in the near future if you know that you're going to be subject to a certain surgery or whatever it is that your physician is telling you that might be becoming more acute, now's the time to look at what could happen over the next, or what you anticipate. None of us really ever anticipate the worst, hopefully, but just looking forward at what's there and what you anticipate is going to be coming in the next 12 months, and make an assessment of that and look and compare each of the different plans that are out there. And that's something that you do, is you look at each of those and say, well, if you take this 12 times a year, this is going to be your out-of-pocket, this is going to be that, relative, and you can. That's something that you do.
Absolutely. And if you want to change from your Medicare Advantage to Original Medicare, you don't do it during this period, you do it in January and February. So if you're changing back from Medicare Advantage to Original Medicare, talk to your agent in January and you can get switched over to what best serves your needs.
And if you've just moved here or have moved here in the last year or so, it's probably also a good time to take a look at that because it's changed from where you've moved from.
Absolutely.
Cool. All right, well, please stick with us. We'll be right back in just a moment with more, and specifically on the under 65 set and what's going on with health insurance there. Thanks very much. We'll be right back with more Money Matters.